Hey everybody, this is TJ. It's Friday, so my day to post a video about the week's topic, which, from what I understand, is friendship and solidarity uh, with trans folks, trans community, and stuff like that. So hopefully, I got the context of it accurately. I wasn't really sure where to take this week's topic, so um, here goes. When I was first coming out, or I guess not necessarily coming out, but rather really seriously questioning gender and figuring out what was or wasn't going on, I was 19 in college, sophomore slash junior year, and I had already been involved in the LGBTQI community on campus and a lot of activism and the student orgs. So I had a broad network of folks that I connected with. And even within the community, I went to Michigan State, so I um, connected with some of the community groups in East Lansing and Lansing, also around LGBT stuff. But and although I met a lot of trans folks because of that, in the community in particular, uh, pretty much all trans folks that I met were much older than myself or any of my peers, and trans women. Visibility was definitely um, leaning towards that part of the community at that point in time. Granted, this is like talking 11 years ago. Um, yes, I'm that old. Anyway, so when I was coming out, I actually didn't know any trans guys. Um, I remember vaguely once there being an older trans man on a panel that I attended, but I hadn't started questioning stuff for myself yet, so I didn't really pursue figuring out who he was and connecting with him in any sort of way. But when I finally started to, the person who was in charge of the LGBT Resource Center connected me with someone that he knew, an older student who had come back to school, and so that gave me a chance to meet another trans male identified person and connect with them and kind of figure out what their process was like. Um, I mean, we connected at the time and I think formed a semblance of a friendship, but it didn't really last. Many years later, we kind of headed out over some political differences, but um, to be honest, I don't know that our friendship would have lasted much beyond that anyway. I don't think we had a lot in common around our preconceptions and our conceptions around transness around our genders. So I think eventually our common bond would have been very obviously not very common. So we would have drifted apart. But what I was incredibly lucky because when I started questioning stuff, my best friend also was going through very similar questions in his own head, and we were able to really bounce ideas and questions off of each other, and think about these things in really big picture sort of ways, and in ways that made sense to us, and not the kind of ways that we were hearing other people talk about trans identity in these really medicalized places and in these kind of stuck in a body and stuck in the wrong body sort of narratives, but rather from the perspective of feminist-minded people. We identified as very strong feminists, and it was very important for us to have these conversations around our identities, around gender, through that lens, and as activists. So it really wasn't just about identifying as male for us, or as trans male, and using those identities interchangeably, but rather understanding what that means in the grand scheme of things of folks who used to identify as empowered feminist women, what it means to give that up, and let it go, and what it means to move across the spectrum of gender to quote unquote the other side, and what it means for us in terms of our activism and our connection to feminist communities, whether we would be able to maintain it, whether it would be appropriate for us to maintain it, and things and conversations like this. So for me, the friendships in the trans community that have really stuck are the ones that where I can have these conversations around feminism and around gender politics, around how race and ethnicity and all these other concepts intersect. I know it sounds really heady, but it was important for me to be able to do that because I can't separate out who I am as a trans person from any one of my other identities. So for me to have some semblance of solidarity with individuals, I need that give and take. I need that challenge. I need that support to be able to really bond with someone. So for the most part, when I moved to different cities, I've moved around quite a bit. I tend to try to go and see what the local trans group is like, but for the most part, I don't stick around. I might meet a couple of people that I'm okay hanging out with every once in a while because we do connect on that level, but for the most part, a lot of the groups just those conversations aren't happening, and there isn't really the space for it. People get stuck in either the medical conversations or in the, well, we don't want to divide up the group and we want to stay unified, so we don't want to have these divisive conversations. And to me, that in itself is really divisive because it's saying that there's no room for people like me who want to have these conversations, so we leave. Anyway, that was a very long-winded way of saying that trans identity alone is not enough for me. I think that goes without saying in some ways, but that's, I guess, the background and the reason why trans identity alone does not mean that I will be able to forge a friendship with someone or feel in solidarity with that person. All the other stuff really, really matters. Obviously, it can be an introduction and can be a reason to connect in the first place, but for it to last and to really be a relationship, there has to be more. One of the things I have appreciated is the ability to connect to so many folks through YouTube, and to be able to, when in these spaces where I don't necessarily need to have a full-on friendship sort of relationship with someone, but rather can just connect on certain things. Whether it's needing support on something, either I need support on something or somebody else does, or it's a question of providing each other with resources, or just about talking about something real quick, like a snippet of something, then this has been a really great forum to do that. I've connected with tons of people through social media, whether it's YouTube or Twitter or Tumblr or whatever. So that's been fantastic. So I'll end with saying that in the little description I'll add some of these spaces where I connect with folks in that way, and also kind of put in a plug for something that I'm trying to do. I'm on About Me, and this is a website where you can kind of have a profile of yourself, and that's the only purpose of it, is to have a profile of yourself. And some folks use it in a professional kind of way, and others less so. And one of the things they're doing is this campaign to put people's faces on a billboard in New York City that advertises About Me. And you can vote for who you want to be on these billboards. And I have been trying to get myself in there. The deadline for votes is September 20th, and people can vote once every single day for someone to be on this billboard. And I just, for the purposes of having more trans faces, literally more trans faces out there, I want to do it. So I'm going to put that link, the about.me link down there too, so feel free to decide if you want to vote for me for that, and spread the word around so others will too. Alright, thanks folks, and have a great weekend.